Have you ever closed your eyes and wished that one day you could speak English so easily that you don't even need to think? That words would come to you like music, soft and natural? You're sitting in a cafe, someone starts talking in English, and you reply, without fear, without translation, without that pause in your mind. It feels beautiful, doesn't it? But maybe right now, that dream still feels a little far away. You listen, but you don't always understand everything. You try to speak, but your tongue feels slow. You know the words in your head, but they don't come out in time. You want to sound natural, but something inside still holds you back. Today, my friend, this story is about you. Not about grammar, not about rules, but about a journey. A journey where you learn to think in English. To make English a part of your world, your thoughts, your heart. So, let's begin from the start. Imagine this. It's early morning. The sun is soft and golden. You're walking to your favorite spot, maybe a park, maybe a little corner near your home. You have your headphones on. You're listening to English, just like now. The voice you hear, maybe it's me, is calm, clear, simple. You understand most of it, not everything, but enough to keep listening. And in that moment, something small but powerful happens. You begin to feel the language. You're not studying anymore. You're living it. That's how every real English journey begins, not with books, not with grammar charts, but with a feeling. The moment when English becomes alive around you. Many learners don't notice that small beginning. They keep waiting for the perfect method. But there's no perfect method. There's only a perfect moment, the moment you decide, I will live in English every day. I remember meeting a learner named Lena. She was from a small town where no one spoke English. For years, she studied grammar, vocabulary lists, exams. But she couldn't speak. She said, I know so many words, but my mouth doesn't know them. Maybe you feel the same sometimes. So one day, Lena changed something simple. Every morning, she listened to English stories. She didn't try to understand every word. She just listened. Slowly, her brain started to feel the rhythm, the emotion, the sound. And after a few weeks, something magical happened. She started thinking in English, small thoughts first. Simple things like, I'm hungry. The sky is beautiful. I should call my friend. And that's where fluency really begins, not in big conversations, but in the small thoughts we think silently every day. Thinking in English is like training your brain to stay in the language world. At first, it's hard. Your brain wants to go back to your native language. But with time, with patience, something changes. The walls between languages get softer. The English voice inside your head becomes stronger. And soon, English stops being a subject. It becomes a part of who you are. So, let me ask you something. When was the last time you really listened, not just with your ears, but with your heart? Because listening is where everything begins. Before you can speak fluently, you must learn to listen deeply. To catch the rhythm, the emotion, the small pauses. That's why this story, this whole lesson, is not about memorizing. It's about feeling. You're not only learning English right now. You're living it. Every sound, every breath, every word you hear is teaching your brain the natural flow of real English. Let's stay in this moment a little longer. Imagine you're walking again. The sun is now higher. You see people around you, some talking, laughing, maybe someone reading a book in English. You listen without fear. You're not trying to translate. You're just letting your brain float in English. This is how we train fluency, through connection, not pressure. You see, the biggest problem most learners have is not a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of habit. You can know 1,000 words, but if you don't use them, they fade away like dust in the wind. So here's a simple truth: fluency is a habit, not a test. Every time you listen, you build that habit. Every time you speak, even to yourself, you grow it stronger. That's why I always tell my students, speak with yourself in English. When you wake up, say in your mind, good morning. Today will be a beautiful day. When you cook, describe what you're doing in English. When you walk, imagine you're telling a story about your day. The more you think in English, the more natural your voice becomes. Let's imagine something. You're standing at a bus stop. You look around. You see an old man reading a newspaper, a child holding an ice cream. You hear two people talking about the weather. Now, inside your mind, you describe the scene, but in English. You think, that child looks happy. The man is reading the news. The bus is late again. That's fluency practice. Real-life English, not from a book, but from your world. The funny thing is, you can practice fluency anywhere. You don't need a teacher beside you. You don't even need someone to talk to. You only need your imagination and your willingness to play with English like a child plays with colors. When we were children, we learned our first language by listening, repeating, and playing. Nobody gave us grammar rules. We didn't know what a verb or a noun was. We just copied sounds and feelings. That's exactly how you should learn to think in English, through play, repetition, and emotion. Many learners feel embarrassed when they speak. They think, my accent is not perfect. My grammar is wrong. But let me tell you a secret. Even native speakers make mistakes. The only difference is, they don't stop to worry. They keep speaking. They keep flowing. So when you speak, don't aim for perfection. Aim for connection. Because language is not about correctness. It's about connection, sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your stories. Let's go back to Lena for a moment. After 3 months of daily listening and self-talk, she met a tourist who asked her for directions. Without thinking, she answered in English. Clearly, naturally, and confidently. After the tourist walked away, she realized what just happened. She had spoken English fluently, and she didn't even notice. That's the real moment of transformation, when you stop noticing that you're speaking a second language. And that moment is waiting for you too. But to reach that point, you need to change how you see English. Don't treat it like a subject you study. Treat it like a friend you meet every day. When you listen, smile. When you read, feel curious. When you speak, don't fear mistakes. They're part of your friendship with the language. Remember, English doesn't live in books. It lives in people, in stories, in your daily life. So today, as you listen, tell yourself, I'm not studying English. I'm living English. But to reach that point, you need to change how you see English. Don't treat it like a subject you study. Treat it like a friend you meet every day. When you listen, smile. When you read, feel curious. When you speak, don't fear mistakes. They're part of your friendship with the language. Remember, English doesn't live in books. It lives in people, in stories, in your daily life. So today, as you listen, tell yourself, I'm not studying English. I'm living English. Let's breathe for a second. Inhale and exhale. You are doing something wonderful right now. You are training your mind to stay in English, to feel comfortable inside it. That's not easy. It takes patience. It takes love. But every second you spend listening, you're building a bridge from understanding words to feeling their meaning. And one day, you'll cross that bridge completely. So here's your small mission for today. After this session, take 10 minutes and talk to yourself in English. Describe your room. Describe your feelings. Say simple things. I feel happy. I am learning. I can speak English. Because when you say those words, your brain believes them. And that belief, my friend, is the seed of fluency. In this story, we'll travel together through many moments of doubt, of courage, of change. You'll learn how to think faster, listen deeper, and speak with emotion. But before we go further, remember this first lesson deeply. Fluency begins when you stop learning English and start living it. And now let's move to the next part of our journey, where we'll explore how to train your mind to stay in English, even when you're alone, tired, or busy. Because the real secret to fluency is not what you say, it's how you think. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your mind as a small, peaceful room. In that room, there are two voices. One speaks in your native language, calm, familiar, safe. The other voice speaks in English, softer, slower, sometimes unsure, sometimes brave. Now, these two voices are not enemies. They're simply waiting to learn how to live together. The goal of your English journey is not to erase the first voice. It's to make the second one strong enough to stand beside it, to help you think, dream, and express freely in English. You see, fluency doesn't begin with your mouth. It begins with your mind. When your thoughts start to form in English, speaking becomes natural. You no longer translate word by word. You no longer stop to think, how do I say this? Because you're already thinking it. But how do we train the mind to do that? How do we move from translating to thinking in English naturally? Let's go step by step. The first step is awareness. Notice how your brain reacts when you listen or speak English. Does it quickly run back to your native language? Does it try to translate every word? That's completely normal. It means your brain is trying to protect you. It wants comfort. It wants to understand everything. But real growth happens in the space between comfort and confusion, that little moment when you don't fully understand, yet you stay there, calm and open. So, instead of fighting confusion, welcome it. Confusion is not failure. Confusion is progress in disguise. I remember one of my students, Amir. When he started listening to English, he felt frustrated. He said, "Teacher, I understand only 50%. I feel stupid." But I told him, that's amazing. That means your brain is already learning. That 50% you don't understand is the space where growth happens. 2 months later, Amir came back smiling. He said, "Now I understand 70%, and I don't worry anymore." He had trained his mind not to panic. He had learned to stay inside English even when things were unclear. That's the second step, staying inside the English world. Imagine walking through a city where everyone speaks English. You hear conversations, announcements, laughter. You don't understand every word, but you keep walking. You listen. You pick up small sounds, rhythms, emotions. Slowly, your brain starts to guess meaning, not by translation, but by feeling. That's what you should do every day. Surround yourself with English sounds, podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, even simple stories like this one. Don't worry about understanding every detail. Let your brain swim in English like a fish in water. At first, it feels uncomfortable. But slowly, your brain adapts. It starts to think faster, listen deeper, connect naturally. The third step is imitation, copying sounds, not just words. When you hear a native speaker say something, repeat it. Don't worry about the grammar. Focus on the rhythm, the melody. English has music inside it, up and down, soft and strong, short and long. When you copy that rhythm, your brain begins to feel English. Let's try something right now. Repeat slowly after me, out loud if you can. I am not afraid of mistakes. I am learning every day. I can think in English. Now, notice how it feels when you say those words. Not just what they mean, how they sound. This is how you train your English mind, through feeling and sound, not through memorizing. Another secret, speak with yourself. Yes, talk to yourself in English, out loud or silently. Many learners feel shy to do this, but it's one of the most powerful habits in the world. When you speak with yourself, you train your mind to respond in English. You teach your brain that English is not just for exams, it's for real life. Imagine this scene. You wake up in the morning. You stretch and say quietly, "Good morning, world." You go to the kitchen. You say, "Let's make some coffee." You look outside and whisper, "The sky looks beautiful today." Simple, small sentences, but every one of them is a brick in the wall of fluency. Now, let's go a little deeper. What happens when you face a difficult word? Most learners stop and think, what is the translation? But the best way is to guess from context. To use your imagination. For example, if you hear someone say, "She was trembling," and you see the scene, maybe she's cold or afraid, your brain connects the meaning naturally. That's how native speakers learn new words too. Not through translation, but through experience. So next time you hear an unknown word, don't rush to the dictionary. Stop. Feel. Listen. Guess. Let your brain work like a detective. That's how it becomes powerful. Here's something else to remember. Your brain learns best through emotion. If you connect English with feelings, happiness, curiosity, even sadness, it becomes easier to remember. That's why stories are so powerful. When you listen to a story, your heart joins your mind. You remember the feeling of the words, not just their sound. That's how we build emotional fluency, the kind of English that speaks from the heart. So now, let's practice imagining again. You're sitting by a window on a rainy afternoon. The rain falls softly, tapping the glass. You're holding a warm cup of tea. You hear the sound of rain, and in your mind, you describe it in English. The rain is gentle. The sound feels peaceful. The air smells fresh. You don't need to translate. You just feel and describe. This small act, describing what you see, hear, and feel in English slowly changes your brain. It builds a new world inside you. And that world grows every day you practice. Now, there's another important part of training your English mind: patience. Fluency doesn't happen suddenly. It grows quietly, like a tree. You water it every day with listening, speaking, reading, and living. You don't see the growth every morning, but one day, you realize the tree has become strong. So, don't look for fast results. Look for daily habits. One of my favorite sayings is, "Small steps every day lead to big changes someday." That's true for English too. Let's look at your daily routine. Think about how many small English moments you can create. When you brush your teeth, listen to a short podcast. When you eat breakfast, read one English sentence on your phone. When you go to sleep, listen to calm English stories or affirmations. Each small action tells your brain, English is part of my life. And your brain listens. It begins to treat English not as something new, but as something natural. Now, let's talk about the most powerful exercise, inner narration. Inner narration means talking to yourself in English in your mind, describing your actions as you do them. For example, you're walking. I'm walking to the store. It's cold today. I hope the shop is open. You're doing laundry. I need to wash my favorite shirt. Where's the detergent? You're cooking dinner. I'm cutting the vegetables. The smell is amazing. It may sound simple, but this is exactly how you move from translating to thinking. Your mind begins to use English naturally, automatically. And remember, it's okay if sometimes your thoughts come half in your native language and half in English. That's normal. That means your mind is building connections. With practice, the English part will grow stronger every day. Soft laughter and voice. Don't force it. Let it grow gently, like a seed turning into a tree. Another way to train your English mind is through curiosity. When you hear a phrase or a sentence you like, repeat it. Ask yourself, why does it sound beautiful? Maybe it's the rhythm. Maybe it's the feeling. For example, listen to this sentence. Every word is a small bridge between two hearts. When you repeat it, feel the meaning. You're not just practicing pronunciation, you're connecting emotion with language. That's how real fluency feels, natural, emotional, and alive. Let's go back to Amir for a moment. A few weeks after our first talk, he told me something that touched me deeply. He said, "Teacher, now when I walk to work, I hear English in my mind. I describe things automatically." I smiled and said, "That means your English mind is awake." And that's exactly what's happening to you right now. As you listen, as you imagine, your English mind is waking up. Slowly, calmly, beautifully. So here's your reflection for today. Every time you listen, you are feeding your mind with English sounds. Every time you speak, even just a few words, you are teaching your mind to respond in English. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be consistent. Fluency is not a race. It's a rhythm, and you're already dancing to it right now, just by listening. So the next time you doubt yourself, remember this. Your English mind is growing quietly every day. You may not see the change today or tomorrow, but one morning, you will wake up and realize English feels natural. It feels like home. And that day will come, sooner than you think. Now, take a deep breath. You're doing great. In the next part of our journey, we'll go deeper. We'll talk about how to turn this English habit into something permanent, how to keep English alive in your world through simple daily actions, stories, and emotions. Because fluency is not about knowing, it's about living. There's a beautiful truth about learning a language. The more you live in it, the more it lives in you. You can study grammar books for years. You can memorize hundreds of words. But unless English becomes part of your everyday world, part of your actions, your routines, your thoughts, it will always stay outside you, like a jacket you wear only on special days. But fluency is not a jacket. It's like skin, it stays with you naturally. And to grow that natural feeling, you need habits. Small daily moments that connect you with English again and again, until your brain says, this is my normal. So today, let's explore what it truly means to live in English. It's morning again. The sun touches your window. You open your eyes slowly. Before you check your phone, before you think about work or school, you whisper to yourself in English, "Good morning, me." And you smile. It sounds simple, right? But that small moment is powerful. Why? Because you've already told your brain that English is welcome here from the first minute of your day. Now you move through your morning routine. You brush your teeth. You wash your face. You make breakfast. You don't rush. You talk to yourself softly, "I'm brushing my teeth. The water feels cold. I'm making coffee. I love this smell." Every sentence is a small spark of connection. Every small thought in English builds a stronger voice inside you. And when you do this every day, something magical happens. You stop switching languages. You start living in English. Later, when you walk to work or school, you put on your headphones. You listen to English, maybe a podcast, maybe a calm story like this one. You don't need to focus too hard. You don't even need to understand every word. You just walk, breathe, and listen. And in that moment, you're living inside the sound of English. You hear the rhythm of speech. You catch small phrases. You smile when something sounds beautiful. That's not studying, that's living. Many learners ask me, how can I find time to practice English every day? And I always say, you don't find time, you create small spaces. Your life already has these small spaces, moments when your body is busy, but your mind is free. Walking, cooking, cleaning, waiting in line, sitting in a bus. All these are golden moments for your English. You can listen to short stories, talk to yourself, describe what you see, or even sing softly in English. You don't need a classroom. The world is your classroom. Let's imagine another small story. A learner named Matteo lives in a busy city. He works long hours, and by the time he comes home, he feels tired. He told me once, "I want to learn English, but I don't have time." So I asked him, "How do you travel to work?" He said, "By bus. About 30 minutes every day." I smiled. That's 1 hour a day, 30 hours a month of English time waiting for you. And he laughed. I never thought of it like that. The next day, he began listening to English podcasts on the bus. At first, he understood little. But after 2 weeks, he told me, "Now I understand more, and I feel like the voice is my friend." That's what happens when you make English part of your daily world. It begins to feel friendly. It becomes your companion, not a subject, not a test, but a friend that walks beside you. Let's think about your day now. Where are your small English moments? Maybe it's during breakfast, maybe while walking, maybe before sleeping. Choose 1 or 2 daily activities and connect them with English. For example, morning coffee, listen to a short English podcast. Lunch break, describe your day in English in your mind. Before bed, write 1 small sentence in English about how you feel. That's it. Small, simple, but powerful. When you repeat these habits every day, your brain begins to expect English. It looks for it. It enjoys it. That's how English becomes part of your rhythm. Now, some people say, but my English isn't good enough to think or speak all the time. That's okay. Nobody starts perfectly. You can start small, with single words, short phrases, even broken sentences. Say things like, cold today. Coffee smells good. I go work now. Don't worry about grammar. The goal is not perfection. The goal is presence. Your English will grow naturally when it becomes your daily sound. There's something interesting about the human brain. It loves repetition. When it hears something again and again, it starts to believe it's important. So if your brain hears English every day, it begins to say, this is my world now. You don't need long hours. You only need consistency, small steps every single day. That's why I call it living English, not learning English. Imagine you're walking down the street. You see a bakery. You think in English, that bread looks fresh. You hear a dog bark. You think, that dog sounds happy. You see the sky, so blue today. You're not studying. You're not translating. You're simply noticing the world in English. That's how you build real fluency, through noticing, through connection, through life. Here's another story about Ana, a nurse from Brazil. She wanted to improve her English, but she was always busy at the hospital. So she made a simple rule. Every day, she would spend 10 minutes doing something in English, reading a short article, watching one YouTube video, or writing a few lines in her journal. She said, 10 minutes is easy. I can always find 10 minutes. After 6 months, her colleagues noticed something different. She was speaking faster, more naturally. She smiled more when talking to patients from other countries. Ana told me, I didn't study a lot. I just lived with English a little every day. That's the secret. Sometimes, learners think they need big effort, hours of practice, perfect grammar, expensive courses. But fluency grows from small consistency, not big pressure. You don't need to do everything at once. You only need to do something every day. Even 1 minute counts. When you read one line in English, your brain stays connected. When you say one sentence to yourself, your speaking muscle stays alive. Fluency dies only when you stop. So here's a simple plan, your English lifestyle plan. Start each day with one English moment. It could be listening, reading, or speaking. Keep it small but real. During the day, find one more English moment, describe something you see, listen to a voice, repeat a phrase you like. At night, finish with one English reflection. Ask yourself, what did I learn today? How do I feel right now? That's all you need. Now let's talk about one more thing, the emotional connection. Living in English isn't just about words. It's about feelings. When you enjoy what you're doing, learning becomes natural. So don't just listen to lessons. Listen to stories you love. Don't just watch English movies, watch the ones that make you smile, laugh, or cry. Because emotion is memory's best friend. When you love what you hear, your brain remembers it forever. That's why, even now, you remember songs from years ago, not because you studied them, but because they made you feel something. Let English make you feel something every day. When you live in English, you also begin to see yourself differently. You start believing, I am someone who can speak English. That belief is the key. Because your words follow your belief. If you believe English is difficult, your mind closes. But if you believe English can live in you, naturally, peacefully, your mind opens. Every small action, every small word, builds that belief. So tonight, before you sleep, whisper to yourself, I am living in English. And tomorrow morning, whisper again, English is part of me. These small sentences are not magic, but they change your mindset. They tell your brain that English is home. And when your brain feels at home, fluency begins to grow without fear. So now, take a deep breath. You are already doing something amazing. You are not just listening to English, you are living it. Every second you spend in this world builds your fluency. You are training your mind, your ear, your voice, gently, consistently. And soon, you'll notice it. You'll start answering faster, thinking in English without trying, smiling when you hear yourself speak. Because by then, English won't be a foreign language anymore. It will be part of your everyday life, just like the air you breathe. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how to speak with emotion and flow, how to make your English sound alive, expressive, and full of feeling. Because fluency is not only about speaking clearly, it's about speaking with heart. Do you remember the first time you tried to speak English out loud? Maybe your heart beat fast. Maybe your voice felt small. You wanted to say something simple, but your tongue felt heavy, your mind ran too fast, and your words came out slowly. You might have thought, why is it so hard to sound natural? Let me tell you something important. It's not your accent. It's not your grammar. It's that your English voice hasn't found its confidence yet. Because fluency is not only about speaking correctly, it's about speaking with emotion. Language is music. Every sentence has a rhythm, a melody, a feeling. When you speak without emotion, it's like playing a song without sound. But when you speak with emotion, your English comes alive. So how do we do that? How do we find our English voice, the voice that feels natural, warm, and confident? First, you must understand this. Your English voice is part of your real self. Many learners change completely when they speak English. They become quiet, serious, afraid to make mistakes. But that's not you. That's fear speaking. Your English voice should sound like you. It should carry your real feelings, your real laughter, your real curiosity. When you let emotion flow through your words, you connect, not just communicate. Let's imagine something. You're talking to a friend who speaks English. They ask, "How are you?" Now you could say, "I'm fine," in a flat voice, no emotion, just words. Or you could breathe, smile, and say, "I'm fine, really happy today." The words are the same. But the feeling changes everything. Because language is not only in the mouth, it's in the breath, in the tone, in the heart. Soft background violin joins. So, the first step to finding your English voice is to breathe. Yes, to breathe. When you feel nervous, your voice becomes tight. You speak faster, you forget words. But when you take a deep breath before you speak, your body relaxes. Your thoughts slow down. Your real voice comes out naturally. Try it with me. Take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Now say softly, "I can speak with calm. I can speak with heart." Feel that? That's your real English voice waking up. The second step is connection. When you speak, don't think only about the words. Think about the person you're speaking to. What do you want them to feel? For example, if you're telling a happy story, let your voice smile. If you're talking about something sad, let your voice slow down, soften. This connection between your feeling and your sound is what makes English natural. You see, native speakers don't think about grammar while they talk. They think about emotion, what they want to share. That's why their speech flows like music. You can do the same. Let's try a small example. Say this line, "I can do it." Now say it again, but imagine you're proud of yourself. Say it like you mean it. "I can do it." Did you feel the difference? The first was only words. The second was life. That's the secret. The third step is rhythm. Every language has a rhythm. English moves like waves up and down, soft and strong. Listen to the way people talk in English movies or stories. You'll hear it. Some words are strong, some are quiet, some are short, some are long. To sound natural, don't speak every word the same. Let your voice move. Let it breathe. You can practice this easily. Listen to a short English sentence, maybe from a movie or podcast, and repeat it exactly as you hear it. Don't focus on the meaning. Focus on the music. When you do that, you're not only copying sound, you're training your brain to speak with rhythm. You can even use music itself to help you. Sing in English. Not to be perfect, but to feel the melody of words. English songs are full of rhythm and emotion. When you sing, your pronunciation improves, your confidence grows, and your English voice becomes free. It doesn't matter if you sing well. What matters is that you feel the sound. Now let's talk about confidence. Confidence doesn't come before speaking. It comes from speaking. Most learners wait to feel confident, and then they want to speak. But it works the other way. The more you speak, the more confident you become. It's like swimming. You can't feel safe until you touch the water. So, start small. Speak one sentence. Then two. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Record your voice. When you hear yourself speak, you start getting comfortable with your sound. And slowly, your fear disappears. I once had a student named Rena. She had studied English for many years, but never spoke in class. She said, "I'm afraid my accent sounds strange." So I asked her to record herself reading a small story every day, just for herself, not for anyone else. After 1 week, she came to me and said, "I listened to my voice and I like it." She smiled like a child who found her lost toy. That was the moment she found her English voice. From that day, she spoke freely, beautifully. Because confidence comes not from perfection, but from acceptance. Accept your voice. Love it. It's yours. You don't need to sound like anyone else. You don't need to hide your accent. Your accent is a map. It tells your story, your journey, your home. It's part of your identity. When you speak, smile with your voice. When you share your story, let your heart move the words. If you speak with emotion, people will listen, even if your grammar isn't perfect. Because emotion is the real language of connection. Now, let's talk about practice. Here's a simple daily practice to find your English voice. Every morning, choose one short English sentence that inspires you. Something like, "I believe in myself." Every day, my English gets better. I can express my heart in English. Say that sentence 3 times, slowly, clearly, with feeling. The first time, just speak. The second time, breathe with it. The third time, feel it. This is not just language practice. It's emotional training. You're teaching your mind and your mouth to work together. Another great way to grow your English voice is by telling small stories out loud. Don't worry about being perfect. Just describe something real, your morning, your walk, your favorite memory. For example, say, "Yesterday, I walked in the park. The air was cool and the sky looked beautiful. I felt peaceful." Simple words. But when you say them slowly, with emotion, your English starts to sound real. Because English is not about difficult words, it's about honest feelings. Remember this. Emotion gives energy to your English. When you speak without emotion, your brain feels bored. It stops paying attention. But when you speak with emotion, your brain wakes up, it listens, it remembers, it learns faster. That's why I always say, speak with your heart, not with your memory. Let's practice one more thing together. I want you to repeat this softly. Wherever you are, my English voice is strong. My English voice is clear. My English voice is mine. Feel how that sounds inside you. That's not just practice, that's transformation. Your English voice is like a light inside you. The more you use it, the brighter it becomes. The more you share it, the more it shines. So, speak often. Speak kindly. Speak bravely. Because every word you say in English brings you closer to fluency. Before we close this section, let's remember what we've learned together here. Fluency isn't about speed, it's about connection. Confidence isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance. And your English voice isn't someone else's, it's yours. Don't hide it. Don't wait for it to sound perfect. Start now. Speak softly, speak slowly, speak sincerely. Your heart already knows how. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how to listen like a storyteller, how to hear English in a way that helps you understand people deeply and respond naturally. Because speaking is only half of fluency. The other half is listening and feeling the story behind every sound. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen carefully. What do you hear right now? Maybe the sound of rain outside your window, the hum of a fan, or maybe just silence. Listening is more than sound. It's attention. It's presence. Most people hear, but they don't listen. When we hear, we catch words. When we listen, we catch meaning. And that's the real difference between understanding English and feeling English. You see, when you listen like a storyteller, you don't focus on each word. You focus on the emotion behind the words, the rhythm, the pauses, the tone. Because in every language, feeling speaks louder than vocabulary. Let's imagine something together. You're sitting in a small cafe on a quiet street. The sound of coffee cups, soft jazz music in the background. At the next table, two people are talking in English. You don't understand every word, but you hear their laughter, their voices rise and fall. Even without full understanding, you feel what they mean. That's the beauty of listening, when your heart begins to understand before your brain does. Many learners try too hard when they listen. They fight with every word. They think, what does this mean? What's that word? Why can't I understand everything? But real listening is not fighting. It's flowing. You don't need to understand 100%. You only need to stay calm, open, and connected. Your brain is smarter than you think. When you listen with patience, it starts to recognize patterns. It catches sounds, emotions, ideas. Slowly, you understand more and more, not through translation, but through intuition. That's how children learn their first language, not by studying, but by listening, feeling, guessing, and connecting. So, how can you train yourself to listen like a storyteller? Let's begin with silence. Yes, silence. Before you listen, take a few seconds to clear your mind. No rush, no noise. Just a quiet moment of attention. When your mind is still, your ears open wider. You start noticing small details, a tone, a rhythm, a smile in someone's voice. This is how storytellers listen, with full attention. The second step is emotion. When you listen to someone speaking English, don't only think about the words. Ask yourself, how do they feel right now? Are they excited? Tired? Curious? You can hear feelings even when you don't understand the full sentence. Try it now. Imagine someone saying, "Oh, really?" Now imagine they say it again, but this time happily, "Oh, really?" And now, sadly, "Oh, really?" Same words. Completely different meaning. This is the secret of emotional listening. When you train your ears to hear feeling, your understanding becomes natural because emotions are universal. The third step is context. When you listen to English, a podcast, a story, a movie, don't try to understand every word. Instead, focus on the story. Who is speaking? Where are they? What's happening? Even if you miss some words, the story gives you clues. For example, if someone says, "She slammed the door," you don't need to translate slammed. You can imagine the sound, the emotion, maybe anger, maybe sadness. That's storytelling listening, understanding through imagination. When I was teaching a class one day, a student named Ken said, "I understand English when I read, but not when I listen." So I gave him a challenge. I said, "Ken, this week, don't study English. Just listen." He looked surprised. "Just listen?" "Yes," I said. "Choose one story, listen every day, same one. Don't write anything. Don't translate. Just feel it." He did it. After 1 week, he said, "I didn't understand every word, but I can tell you what the story was about." I could feel it. That's when he realized listening is not about catching words, it's about catching meaning. The next secret of listening like a storyteller is repetition. When you listen to something one time, your brain catches only half. But when you listen again and again, new details appear. You hear small things you missed before: a tone, a phrase, a laugh. That's how you train your ears. Choose one short English story or conversation and listen to it every day for a week. Each time, focus on something different. The first day, listen for the general story. The second day, listen for emotions. The third day, focus on pronunciation and rhythm. The fourth day, repeat after the speaker, copy their sound. By the fifth day, you'll feel like you're inside the story. This kind of deep listening builds real understanding. Another beautiful habit is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a speaker and speaking with them at the same time, like a shadow. You follow their voice, their rhythm, their emotion. It's not about being perfect. It's about feeling the sound in your mouth. When you shadow stories or short speeches, your listening and speaking grow together because your mouth and your ears learn the same music. Here's something interesting. When you listen deeply, your heart rate slows down. You become calm. You become present. And in that calm, English flows easily. That's why I always tell my learners, don't rush listening. Make it a moment of peace. When you listen, really listen. Be here, now. Let's practice something right now. I'm going to say a few lines slowly. Don't repeat. Just listen. Feel them like poetry. The wind is soft tonight. The city is sleeping. Dreams are moving through the air. Now, what did you feel? Calmness? Imagination? That's listening like a storyteller. You didn't translate, you just felt the rhythm and mood. This is the level of listening where fluency begins to grow naturally. When you listen with heart, your brain stops fighting. It relaxes. It learns faster, deeper, easier. Because language is not something we force. It's something we feel. Let's go back to the cafe scene for a moment. You're still sitting there, hearing the people talk. But now you're not afraid of missing words. You're curious. You listen for emotion, rhythm, context. And suddenly, you understand the main idea without translating. That's your mind growing fluent. That's your ear waking up. You're starting to live in the sound of English. And remember, you can practice listening anywhere. Listen to English songs. Don't focus on the lyrics, focus on the feeling. Listen to interviews. Even if they're difficult, catch the tone. Watch short English movies or series with subtitles, then without. Every time you listen, you're training your ear and your heart to work together. There's one more powerful secret to storytelling: listening, curiosity. When you're curious, you pay attention naturally. You don't get bored. So listen to things that truly interest you. Don't choose a podcast just because it's for learners. Choose something you like. If you love cooking, listen to cooking shows in English. If you love stories, listen to audiobooks or life lessons. If you love travel, listen to people describing their journeys. When you care, you remember. Now let's talk about something beautiful: listening to silence. In every conversation, silence is part of listening. When someone pauses, don't rush to speak. Don't panic. That pause is where understanding lives. Even in English, silence speaks. It shows emotion, thought, connection. Storytellers understand this. They listen not just to words, but to what's between the words. When you learn to listen that way, your English becomes deeper, calmer, wiser. So today, as you go about your life, try this. Wherever you are, on a bus, in your room, outside, listen. Listen to the sounds around you and describe them in English in your mind. The birds are singing. Someone is laughing. A car just passed. Simple, peaceful moments. But these moments train your ear. They make English part of your senses. Listening is love. When you listen deeply, you respect the speaker. You say, "Your words matter to me." And that's what real communication is: respect, emotion, connection. When you start to listen this way, your relationships in any language become stronger. So, let's close this section with a reflection. Fluency begins in the ear, not in the mouth. When you learn to listen with patience, with curiosity, with heart, you begin to think and speak naturally. You don't chase words anymore. Words come to you. Take a deep breath. You're already listening better than before. You're calmer, more aware, more connected. Every sound in English, every story you hear, is helping your mind grow. You're not only learning English now. You're learning how to listen to life. In the next part of our journey, we'll bring everything together, thinking, speaking, listening, and learn how to stay fluent in real conversations, how to keep your English alive when you speak with others in the real world. Because fluency isn't just about what you practice alone, it's about what you share. It's morning again. The sun is rising slowly. The world feels quiet, peaceful. You sit near your window with a cup of tea or coffee in your hand. You take a deep breath and you whisper to yourself, I can speak in English today. And in that small whisper, something powerful begins: confidence. Confidence in English is not something you find in a book. It's not something that appears one day like magic. It's something you build moment by moment through real conversations. Because fluency doesn't grow in silence. It grows in connection, when you speak, when you listen, when you share. But let's be honest, speaking in real conversations can still feel scary, right? You may worry about mistakes, about not understanding someone, about freezing mid-sentence. That's okay. That's human. Even native speakers sometimes pause, forget words, or make mistakes. The difference is, they don't stop. They keep the conversation flowing. And that's what you'll learn here: how to stay natural, how to stay confident, and how to keep your English alive in any real-life conversation. Let's start with something simple. Fluency is not speed. Many learners believe that fluent speakers talk fast. But fluency is not about speed, it's about flow. You can speak slowly and still be fluent. You can pause and still sound natural. Fluency is when your thoughts and your words move together without fear. Imagine you're talking to someone in English, maybe a colleague, a friend, or a traveler you just met. They ask you, so, what do you do? Your mind goes blank for a second. You panic. You want to answer perfectly. But here's the secret: you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep the flow. You could say, oh, I work in marketing. I help small companies promote their products online. Simple, clear, honest. Even with a small pause, you sound natural. Because real English conversations are not about perfect sentences, they're about connection. Native speakers say, like, all the time. They repeat words. They make small mistakes. So if you do too, it's okay. That means you're speaking like a real person, not like a textbook. Now let's talk about one of the biggest fluency secrets: thinking in ideas, not words. When you speak in your native language, you don't think word by word, right? You think in pictures, in feelings, in meaning. You can do the same in English. When someone asks you something, don't translate in your mind. Instead, imagine the picture, then describe it in simple English. For example, if someone asks, what did you do last weekend? Don't translate. Just see the image in your head. Maybe you walked in the park, watched a movie, met a friend. Then say it simply: I met my friend on Saturday. We had coffee and talked for hours. It was nice. No translation. Just expression. This is how you start thinking in English, by trusting your thoughts instead of fighting them. Now let's explore something powerful: mistakes. Mistakes are not your enemy. They're your teachers. Every mistake is a small door to improvement. When you speak and make a mistake, it means you tried, and that's already success. Fluent speakers are not people who never make mistakes. They're people who recover quickly. If you say something wrong, just smile, correct yourself, and continue. For example, if you say, he go to school, and then realize it should be he goes to school, just fix it and move on. Don't stop. Don't apologize 10 times. People remember your confidence, not your mistakes. Let's imagine a scene. You're at a coffee shop, and someone next to you starts a conversation. They ask, hey, are you from here? You smile. Your heart beats fast. You want to reply. You say, no, I'm not. I come from Brazil. And you? They smile back and the conversation begins. You talk about travel, weather, coffee, simple topics, but full of connection. And for the first time, you realize you're speaking English. Not perfectly, but freely. You laugh. You listen. You understand. That's real fluency, not grammar, not vocabulary connection. Another secret of real conversations: questions. When you speak with someone, don't worry about long answers. Focus on asking good questions. Questions show interest. They keep the conversation alive. Simple ones are best. How long have you lived here? What do you like to do in your free time? Do you enjoy your job? When you ask, you give others a chance to speak, and you get time to think. That's how fluent conversations stay natural. They're a balance between talking and listening. Here's another trick that storytellers use: mirroring. When someone speaks, repeat part of what they say before you answer. If someone says, "I love Italian food," you can reply, "Italian food?" Yes, me too, especially pasta. This makes people feel heard and keeps your speech flowing naturally. It's a simple technique, but it builds confidence and connection. Let's talk about another important mindset: kindness to yourself. Many learners are too hard on themselves. After every conversation, they think, "I made mistakes," or "I sounded stupid." But what if you change that thought? After every conversation, tell yourself, "I spoke. I practiced. I grew." Because that's the truth. Every time you use English, even for 2 minutes, you're training your brain to think faster, your mouth to move smoother, and your confidence to grow stronger. Be kind to yourself. Fluency is like a plant. You don't see it grow every day, but if you water it with practice, it grows quietly, deeply. So speak whenever you can. With friends. With yourself. With strangers. Don't wait for someday. Every small conversation is a seed of fluency. There's something beautiful about speaking English. It's not just communication. It's connection across the world. When you speak, you're not just using words, you're opening doors. You can connect with people from other countries, share ideas, make friends, understand new cultures. English gives you wings to travel, not only to places, but to people's hearts. Let me tell you a short story. A student of mine named May from China was shy and quiet. She always said, "Teacher, I understand everything, but I can't speak." One day, I asked her to join an online English group. She didn't want to, she was afraid. But she joined anyway. At first, she said almost nothing. But slowly, week after week, she began to speak one sentence, then two, then more. After 3 months, she sent me a message. "I talked for 1 hour in English today." I laughed. I didn't think in Chinese. I just spoke. That message made me smile. Because fluency isn't learned from books, it's lived through courage. You can do the same. Join groups, talk to friends online, join language exchanges, or even talk to yourself in English when you're walking alone. Every time you use English in real life, you're training not just your tongue, but your mindset. And slowly, English stops being a subject. It becomes your voice. There will still be days when words don't come easily. That's okay. On those days, listen more, read more, think more. Fluency is not a straight line. It's a journey full of small steps, small victories. So never say, "I can't speak English." Say, "I'm learning to speak better every day." That small change in your words changes everything in your confidence. Before we close this story, I want you to repeat these lines after me slowly, softly, with heart. I am learning every day. My mistakes help me grow. I can connect with people in English. My English voice is my own. I am already becoming fluent. You see, my friend, fluency is not a destination, it's a way of living. Every time you think in English, every time you listen with attention, every time you speak with courage, you are already fluent in that moment. So trust your journey. Trust your voice. Trust your growth. English is not something outside you. It's already inside, waiting to shine. The next time you speak English, don't try to be perfect. Be present. The next time you listen, don't try to catch every word. Catch the feeling. And the next time you make a mistake, don't stop. Smile, breathe, and continue, because that's what fluent speakers do. So here we are, the end of this journey, but not the end of your learning. You've learned to think in English, to speak with emotion, to listen with heart, and to grow with confidence. You're no longer just a learner. You're a storyteller in English, someone who can express thoughts, share feelings, and touch others with words. As the sun sets, you close your notebook, smile, and whisper softly to yourself one last time, I can speak English. I can share my story. And that is the real meaning of fluency, not grammar, not perfection, but the courage to speak your truth in another language. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Here on Mr. English Lab, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep shining, because your English story has only just begun.